The courthouse steps were slick with October rain as I balanced my briefcase, coffee, and the Halloween costume my daughter Emma forgot at home. Just another Tuesday in the life of Judge Katherine Ross, mother of two, wife of one, and according to the papers being shoved in my face by my mother-in-law, an unfit parent. "You're an unfit mother," Beverly shrieked, her Chanel suit getting damp in the drizzle as she waved custody papers like a weapon. "I'm taking my grandchildren before you ruin them." I set down my coffee carefully on the courthouse steps, took the papers from her manicured hands, and speed-read through them with the practiced eye of someone who'd reviewed thousands of custody petitions. The errors jumped out like neon signs: wrong jurisdiction, fabricated allegations, forged signatures. Interesting strategy, filing false documents in my jurisdiction. "See you in court, I'll be the one in the robe." Her face went from righteous fury to confusion. "What are you talking about?" My lawyer said. "Your lawyer committed about 17 ethical violations in this document alone," I said calmly, highlighting sections with the pen from my pocket. "Forging a social worker's signature is a felony, by the way, so is filing false reports with Child Protective Services. I don't know what game you're playing." "Beverly, I'm a family court judge, the Honorable Katherine Ross. The same courthouse where you just filed these papers? Third floor, courtroom 3B, my courtroom." The rain intensified as she processed this information, her perfectly styled hair beginning to wilt. Behind her, her husband Richard sat in their Mercedes, wisely staying out of the confrontation. He'd learned years ago that opposing Beverly was like trying to stop a tornado with a screen door. "You're lying," she said finally, but her voice wavered. I pulled out my judicial ID, the one I rarely needed to show. 12 years on the bench, appointed by the governor, and about to recuse myself from your case because even I can't be impartial when someone accuses me of being an unfit mother based on. I checked the papers again. "Letting my children eat non-organic fruit. That's not all, and you know it." Beverly regained her steam. "The public schools, the daycare, the fact that you work instead of being home. My son deserves better than a wife who prioritizes her career over her family." "Your son," I said evenly, "is the one who begged me not to quit when I was appointed judge, who splits childcare duty 50-50, who's probably at home right now making Halloween cookies with our kids because it's his turn for the school party. He shouldn't have to." She was building to full dramatic crescendo now. "A mother should." "Beverly," I used my courtroom voice, the one that could quiet a room full of angry divorcing couples. "I need to get to work. These papers will be reviewed by Judge Hoffman since I obviously can't oversee a case involving myself. But fair warning, he hates frivolous custody suits even more than I do." I picked up my coffee and Emma's butterfly wings, leaving Beverly standing in the rain with her fraudulent papers getting soggy. But I knew this wasn't over. Beverly Ashford didn't accept defeat, especially not from the daughter-in-law she'd despised since day one. The seeds of this confrontation were planted 7 years ago at my wedding to Daniel. I'd already been a judge for 5 years, the youngest ever appointed in our state. Daniel was a pediatric surgeon, brilliant and kind, and somehow still single at 35 despite his mother's best efforts to marry him off to what she called appropriate girls. I was not appropriate. I was the daughter of a single mother who'd waited tables to put me through law school. I'd worked public defense before becoming a prosecutor, then shocked everyone by accepting a judicial appointment instead of joining a lucrative private practice. I lived in a modest apartment, drove a Honda, and thought designer handbags were a waste of money better spent on legal aid donations. "She's not our kind," Beverly had whispered loudly at our rehearsal dinner. "Daniel needs someone who understands society, hosting, the importance of appearances." "Mom, Kate prosecuted the governor's son for insider trading," Daniel had said proudly. "She doesn't care about appearances. She cares about justice." "Exactly my point," Beverly had sniffed. Our wedding was small, 50 guests in my mother's backyard, catered by her restaurant friends, photographed by a law school classmate. Beverly wore black and told everyone who'd listen about the society wedding Daniel should have had. When Emma was born 2 years later, Beverly ramped up her campaign. Every parenting decision became a battleground. Breastfeeding, so common. Public preschool, they'll never get into Harvard. Me returning to work after maternity leave, abandonment. "Just ignore her," Daniel advised, but he'd had 30-plus years to build immunity to his mother's particular brand of toxicity. I was still developing antibodies. Noah's arrival 3 years after Emma coincided with my biggest case, a multi-state custody battle involving international kidnapping. I was nursing Noah between court sessions, reviewing documents while pumping, and somehow maintaining my perfect case record. Beverly saw exhaustion and called it negligence. The children need stability, she'd announced at Sunday dinner, apropos of nothing. Perhaps they should stay with Richard and me while you sort out your priorities. My priorities are sorted, I'd replied, Noah sleeping in my arms while Emma colored at the table. Family and justice, in that order. Actions speak louder than words, she'd muttered, eyeing my breast pump bag with disgust. The guerrilla warfare escalated slowly. Anonymous calls to CPS about concerns, picking up the kids from daycare without permission and taking them for treats that coincided with my important hearings, telling Emma that mommy loves work more than you when she thought I couldn't hear. Daniel tried to intervene, but Beverly was crafty. She never said anything directly to him, always waited until he was in surgery or at conferences. She saved her best attacks for when I was most vulnerable, during trials, judicial conferences, the rare moments when work genuinely did have to come first. I'm documenting everything, I told my best friend Sarah, also a judge in criminal court, just like I advise my custody litigants. She's escalating, Sarah warned. This won't end with passive-aggressive comments. She was right. The custody papers were Beverly's nuclear option, deployed because of last week's incident. I'd been presiding over an emergency custody hearing, a father trying to flee with children to avoid abuse charges. The hearing ran late, past daycare pickup time. Daniel was in emergency surgery. I'd called Beverly as a last resort. Of course I'll get my grandbabies, she'd cooed. Take your time. When I'd arrived at her house at 7 p.m., exhausted but grateful, she'd staged a scene. The children eating ice cream for dinner, you weren't here to feed them properly. Emma crying because Grandma says you forgot us. Noah with a suspicious bruise on his arm that Beverly claimed happened at daycare but I suspected came from her grip when he tried to run to me. This has to stop, I'd said quietly. Kids in the car, you're hurting them to hurt me. I'm protecting them, she'd replied, from a mother who cares more about strangers' children than her own. I save children, Beverly, from parents who actually abuse them, who burn them with cigarettes, starve them, sell them for drug money. You have no idea what real neglect looks like. I know what it looks like when a mother chooses career over family. No, I'd said firmly, you know what it looks like when a woman has a life beyond her children, and it terrifies you because you never did. That's when she decided to file papers. But Beverly made a crucial error. She assumed I was just another working mother she could intimidate. She didn't understand that I'd spent 12 years watching families destroy themselves in court. I knew every dirty trick, every false allegation, every way vindictive relatives tried to weaponize the legal system. More importantly, she didn't understand the legal community. Within hours of filing her false papers, my phone started ringing. Clerks who'd seen the filing, lawyers who recognized my name, Judge Hoffman himself, assuring me he'd handle this swiftly. She listed you as Katherine Ross, unemployed. He chuckled. Did she think we wouldn't notice our own colleague? But the funniest call came from the lawyer Beverly had hired, Marcus Webb, known for taking questionable cases for hefty retainers. Judge Ross, he said carefully, I need to withdraw from representation. I was not aware of the full circumstances when I accepted this case. You mean you didn't know I was a judge? I was told you were a part-time court employee who neglected your children for work. He paused. I've reviewed the allegations. They're creative. Feloniously creative? I'm filing a bar complaint against myself for not properly vetting this case, he said miserably, and recommending your mother-in-law seek psychiatric evaluation. The hearing was set for the following Monday. Beverly arrived in court like she was attending a gala, designer suit, full jewelry, an entourage of her society friends for support. She'd hired new counsel, some out-of-town attorney who didn't know our local judges. I sat in the gallery in my normal court attire, a simple black suit, minimal makeup, hair in a practical bun. Daniel sat beside me, having taken the day off despite Beverly's attempts to convince him I was the enemy. All rise for the Honorable Judge Hoffman, the bailiff announced. Judge Hoffman, 70 years old with a grandfather's face and a prosecutor's instincts, took his seat and immediately zeroed in on Beverly's lawyer. Counselor, I've reviewed your filing. Do you want to explain why your client filed fraudulent documents in my courthouse? Your Honor, my client believed. Believed what? That forging a social worker's signature was legal? That making false abuse allegations was acceptable? That lying about the respondent's employment would go unnoticed when she's literally a judge in this building? Beverly's new lawyer went pale, shuffling through papers. I was not aware. Of course you weren't, because if you had been, you'd have run from this case like your predecessor did. Judge Hoffman turned to Beverly. Mrs. Ashford, do you understand that filing false documents with the court is a crime? I was protecting my grandchildren. Beverly said imperiously. From what? A mother with a spotless record? Who's presided over hundreds of custody cases? Who Child Welfare Services consults as an expert? He held up a file. I have 17 character references here from social workers, guardian ad litems, and child psychologists, all volunteered without request when they heard about this case. She leaves them in daycare, Beverly protested. She works late. She has a job, like millions of parents, like your own son, who's a surgeon. Judge Hoffman's voice hardened. Mrs. Ashford, I've seen real neglect, real abuse. This is not it. This is a vendetta against your daughter-in-law disguised as concern for children. Your Honor, Beverly's lawyer tried. Perhaps supervised visitation. For whom? Judge Hoffman asked. The grandmother who emotionally manipulates children? Who tells them their mother doesn't love them? Who creates conflict where none exists? He looked directly at Beverly. Mrs. Ashford, you're the one who needs supervision. The judge continued. I'm dismissing this petition with prejudice. You cannot refile. I'm also referring this matter to the district attorney for potential charges of filing false documents, perjury, and harassment. This is ridiculous. Beverly stood up. I have rights. Yes, you do. The right to remain silent, which I suggest you exercise. Judge Hoffman turned to me. Judge Ross, I apologize that your family has been subjected to this misuse of our legal system. Do you wish to pursue a restraining order? I stood, using my courtroom voice. Not at this time, Your Honor. My husband and I hope Mrs. Ashford will seek the help she clearly needs. However, we will be documenting any further harassment and will not hesitate to seek legal protection if necessary. Daniel stood with me, taking my hand. My mother needs to understand that Kate is the best thing that ever happened to our family, to me, to our children, and to the hundreds of families she helps every year. I stand with my wife. Beverly made a sound like a deflating balloon. Richard finally spoke from his seat behind her. Beverly, enough, we're leaving. But now, for the first time in 40 years of marriage, Richard Ashford used his spine. You've embarrassed yourself, our family, and tried to destroy our grandchildren's home. We're done. The courtroom cleared slowly, Beverly's society friends avoiding eye contact as they fled. Beverly herself seemed smaller somehow, her designer armor no match for legal reality. Outside the courthouse, on those same rain-slicked steps where this began, Daniel pulled me close. I'm sorry, he whispered. I should have stood up to her years ago. We both kept hoping she'd come around. I said, for the kid's sake. Dad's taking her to a therapist, he said, told her it's that or divorce. 40 years of marriage, and he's finally done enabling her. Think it'll help? Maybe, or maybe she'll just find subtler ways to be awful. He smiled sadly. Either way, she knows now. You're not just some working mother she can bully, you're Judge Katherine Ross, defender of families and crusher of frivolous lawsuits. I'm also the mother who forgot the Halloween wings this morning. I laughed, exhausted. Emma didn't care. She said her butterfly didn't need wings because she has superpowers from her superhero mom. We drove home to our modest colonial in the suburbs, not the mansion Beverly thought her son deserved, but perfect for us. The kids were with my mother, probably elbow-deep in cookie dough and homework. Normal, stable, loved. That evening, as I helped Emma with her math and Daniel read to Noah, I thought about all the families I'd seen destroyed in court. Parents who weaponized children, who mistook control for love, who couldn't see past their own pain to their children's needs. Beverly had tried to make us one of those families. She'd failed because she'd underestimated not just me, but the entire system I'd devoted my life to. Judges talk, lawyers gossip, court clerks have long memories. You can't file false papers against a respected judge and expect it to go unnoticed. But more than that, she'd failed because Daniel and I were partners, real partners, who supported each other's dreams and shared life's burdens, who knew that love meant building each other up, not tearing each other down. Mommy, Emma said, pencil poised over her worksheet. Grandma Bev says I can't be a judge like you because judges don't have families. Grandma Bev is wrong, I said simply. Judges are people. We have families and friends and lives outside court. We just also happen to help other families when they're struggling. Like today? Daddy said you helped our family today. Sort of. Another judge helped us today because I couldn't do it myself. That's how the system works. We look out for each other. I want to be a judge, Emma decided, or maybe a butterfly superhero. Why not both? Danielle suggested, making her giggle. Later, after bedtime stories and dishes and the 1,000 small tasks that make up family life, Danielle and I sat on our porch with tea. The rain had cleared. leaving crisp October air and bright stars. Think she'll try again? He asked. Maybe, probably, but it won't work. I leaned into his warmth. She showed her hand too early. Every judge in the state will know about this by month's end. She'll never get another lawyer to file against us. My mother, the cautionary tale. There are worse legacies, I said. Maybe other grandparents will think twice before weaponizing the court system. My phone buzzed. Sarah, texting from criminal court. Heard about today. Hoffman called Beverly a walking bar exam question on frivolous litigation. You're a legend. I showed Daniel, who laughed for the first time all day. Should we frame that? Definitely. We sat in comfortable silence, two working parents who'd survived an assault on our family. Tomorrow I'd be back in court, presiding over other people's custody battles with even more empathy for the wrongly accused. Daniel would save children's lives in surgery. Our kids would go to public school and eat non-organic fruit and thrive despite their grandmother's predictions of doom. And Beverly? She'd have to live with the knowledge that she'd tried to destroy her own son's family and failed spectacularly, that she'd mistaken a judge's compassion for weakness, a working mother's balance for neglect. Most importantly, she'd learned that filing false papers in family court wasn't just wrong, it was catastrophically stupid when your target spent every day watching people try the same tricks. You know what the ironic part is? I said as we headed inside. If she'd just been a normal, loving grandmother, she'd have unlimited access to the kids. Now she'll be lucky if we allow supervised visits. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, Daniel agreed. Come on, Judge Ross, let's go check on our allegedly neglected children. We found them both sound asleep, Emma clutching a toy gavel I'd gotten her from the courthouse gift shop, Noah surrounded by picture books about families of all kinds, safe, loved, and blissfully unaware that their grandmother had tried to tear their world apart. She'd failed, she'd always been going to fail. Because at the end of the day, love isn't about control or appearances or forcing families into prescribed boxes. It's about showing up, doing your best, and protecting what matters. And if someone tries to use the legal system to destroy that? Well, it helps when you're the one wearing the robe.